Hello and welcome. I'm Jenny Hall. Thanks for joining me for another card making tutorial. Today I am creating a special card for a team member that has had a recent promotion. So I'm making a different style card. It's a tri-fold card that has a very stepped up design. I'm stamping with the first Frost stamp set, and I'll be using the coordinating framelits as well. The colors I'm using are Balmy Blue and Blueberry Bushel. There's a few ways to get a multicolored stamped image, but I'm going to use one light color and then use a sponge dauber to add a darker color around the edges. You could also try the rock and roll technique, but I wanted there to be a subtle shading to the roses. Aren't they beautiful? Blue roses are a bit of a stretch of the imagination because I don't see them oftentimes in real life. However, this is the perfect project for me to be able to add my own custom colors. The smaller rose in the set is just being stamped as is. That variation of color comes out the way the stamp is created, so it has a very unique look. To set all of these flowers apart on the design, I'm giving a little bit of a gilded edge to all of the roses. So I'm running the die cut roses just along the edge of my Versamark clear sticky ink stamp pad, and I am dipping it into the copper embossing powder. This is a bit of a messy step, but it's well worth it, as you can see what the copper gilding looks like on the edge of the roses. It's just a very pretty look. I like the combination of copper and blue, and Balmy Blue is my favorite Stampin' Up! Color. I may go to other colors in my projects, but Balmy Blue is my personal favorite. On the very front of the tri-fold card, I'm going to create a panel that will make it really obvious that this is the front of the card. Tri-fold cards can be made in many different styles, so I want this to be really obvious that this is the front of the card. So I'm going to use the same Balmy Blue and add a different generation look of one of the floral images from First Frost, and then I'm adding the greeting with more of the copper embossing. This will be layered on another panel of Balmy Blue, so it'll help it stand out on the card. Here is the actual tri-fold card base, and I'm going to use some delightfully detailed laser cut paper to go over each of the panels. My card base measures 8.5 by 10.5, and what I did was I took an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock and I trimmed it down to keep it at 8.5 by 10.5, and then I scored each one of the edges, not the long 10.5 inch, but the 8.5. I scored at 3.5 inches from each end. Now I'm going to add this paper, and it has a very intricate look. And this is the actual card front panel. It's on the far right hand side, and once it's folded, then it'll become obvious that this is the front. Because there are such intricate pieces on this designer paper, I've just used my snail adhesive and held it over the silicone craft sheet in order to get the adhesive to stick to the paper and not to anything else. So I'm trimming down these edges to where it will be flush against the cut edge of the card, and this is the inside of the card. I'm doing that on both of the panels that are going to appear on the inside of the card. To deactivate any of the stray snail adhesive, I'm running my Embossing Buddy anti-static bag over those areas that could have a little residual adhesive. So I'm scoring this, and I think it's going to become a little more clear exactly which side is the front and which ones are the inside. And when the card is opened, then you can open out the inside flat, and the card front will swing away to the left. I'm adhering down the sentiment panel with some more snail adhesive. Snail adhesive is working really good for me on this project, but I'm going to switch over to liquid glue now because I need to get smaller concentrations. I've taken one of the framelits from the Frosted Bouquet framelit set, and that matches the first frost. It's part of the bundle, and it's 10% off in my online store. To give some of the accents that are needed in a floral card, I used some white vellum, and I added some die cuts, and I used the leaf punch with some copper embossing sheets. The inside of the card has a large sentiment, and I wanted it to convey the message of how wonderful the accomplishment is for my team member. So I cut them from different papers. Now I wanted to have the word "you" stand out, so I wanted to give it a little bit of a shadow around the edge, but my marker slipped, and as it often happens, I had an oopsie, so I ended up having to color the entire die cut gray, and that's the light smoky slate gray Stampin' Blends marker. So inside of the card conveys the message, and I wanted to use the Celebrate You Thinlits dies in order to do that with die cuts. Another stamped panel would kind of compete with the card front, and so the inside of the card is just completed with die cuts, and that's going to give my project a little bit more clarification of where the front of the project is, or where the card front would be. So some more small amounts of snail adhesive are going to adhere the words and all of the floral pieces as well. I made more copper leaf punches, and I've kind of divided those up a little bit. Each piece of copper foil I use to the utmost maximum. So sometimes I can put it partially under the punch and get another 1 leaf or 2 leaf out, and that's going to be enough to make my project look a little bit more natural with a floral arrangement. I really like the look of these blue roses, and they do match the card base, and I don't think they stand out too much, but the copper gilding really helps them to get noticed. And I wanted this card to really be very blue. That was my goal, and I just really love this color of blue. So the copper accents are going to get tucked in amongst all of the florals and amongst all of the vellum leaf spray die cuts, and I'll even add some more to the finished project as I go along. I felt like it needed just a little bit more copper to really help it stand out. So the copper is also bronze, a bronze color, so that's the representation. And here's what the card looks like whenever it is completed. Just to hold it together during mailing, I'm going to put a piece of ribbon around it, and this is the white ribbon that's in the Stampin' Up! Annual catalog, and I really like it. It has a very nice, smooth feel to it, and it ties very nicely in a bow. Thank you so much for joining me for this project. All of the products that I've used are listed down in the video description, and they're also on my blog. There's a link that you can click to go to my online store for each product. I appreciate your support with your purchase. It enables me to be able to bring you more video tutorials with more techniques and card making ideas. If you have any questions about this project, just leave me a comment and I'll be glad to get back to you. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching the video. Have a good day!